Welcome back into Wave 3 Listens Live. I'm Michael Vanover, having now a familiar face to the program. Michelle Butler, the attorney and founder of Tupper Butler Law, is joining me. Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Good. It was good talking to you off camera before the show, but I definitely, your story is amazing. I know you've been on the program before, but for those that have not heard, if you could give me a little bit of background, not only on Tupper Butler Law, but what brought you into doing what you do?
Absolutely. I am a Louisville native. I then spent many years in Washington, D.C., where I finished law school at Georgetown and practiced in big law firms for almost 10 years, then moved back to Louisville with my first child and practiced here in litigation with another law firm. Unfortunately, my beloved father fell in his home when he was alone in February 2017 and suffered a spinal cord injury that left him a quadriplegic. Even though I had been an attorney and handled large-scale litigation, high risks, complicated legislative and regulatory framework, I had no idea how to help my dad. We had to navigate the health system. He had absolutely no plan in place to preserve his wishes. I had no knowledge of his financial status. So at the same time that my brother and I were in shock and suffering a great deal of grief with him, I had to take on the role of caregiver and attorney and advocate. Along the way, I learned how many other families are without this knowledge and decided to found Tupper Butler Law in his honor and to help other families like mine.
What an amazing story, and obviously so much passion for doing what you're doing. If there's any viewers that have a question for Michelle, you can give us a call, 571-5263, the phone number there on your screen. So Michelle, let's take me through the process. So if I am thinking this is something for a loved one that I need to do, we need to work on, what's it like? Pick up the phone and call you. What's the consultation process like? Kind of walk me through it.
Well, the fact is, all of us are mortal beings, and so I work with families who are both planning simply for aging, or they have new children and are young and want to be sure their plans are protected, and also with a number of families who have aging parents and need to prepare for their end-of-life decisions and their financial protection. So when someone calls or emails me through my website, I have free consultations to listen to you and help you prioritize what your immediate needs are. We then are able to put a plan together in only 3 to 4 meetings. At that point, you're able to know and have the peace of mind that your financial situation is preserved, your healthcare decisions are preserved, and most importantly, you have removed the burden from the people that you love the most in these kinds of situations faced with very difficult questions.
Well, and let's talk about timing of this, because I'm assuming, especially with what happened with your father, that was an extremely emotional situation, as you talked about earlier.
Yes.
Talk about go ahead and acting now and calling you and getting ahead of the curve versus being in an accident-like situation.
I can certainly tell you that the difference between having a plan in place and not having a plan in place is immeasurable, now having experienced both situations. I know that these conversations are the most difficult to have with our loved ones. By preparing in advance, we are able to do so with a logical mind. We are able to make sure that the people we love are not faced with questions they don't know how to answer. My brother and I had no idea what it is that my dad would want. And we were lucky in that we agreed on his trajectory of care, but oftentimes the conflict in families occurs not after death, but while in the hospital with treatment decisions. By acting in advance, you're able to remove all of that anxiety from the people that you most want to protect.
Now, Michelle, what about, people these days think they can go online and fill out a form and get all of the same things that they would get turning to a professional. That's simply not the case. Can you talk about why it's important to turn to professionals?
It is not the case. In fact, it often creates more trouble than resolves. People often feel by going online and filling out the forms, they feel a little better that they have something in place. Unfortunately, those forms are written as vaguely as can appeal to the largest percentage of the population. There are rarely any opportunities to include personal wishes. For a living will, for example, we were able to have in place before my father passed away what he would want in various scenarios. A standard living will that you may pull off the internet requires you to check different boxes, yes or no, if you want life-saving treatment. For people like my father or other people who may want to try treatment for a certain amount of time and then let go, they need a more personalized plan. It's also important to realize that every family is unique and has very different priorities. State laws change very quickly, and the forms often do not catch up. And oftentimes people automatically assume that they have to spend all of their money and go broke before able to get any kind of assistance, and that simply isn't true or covered in the online packages that you might be able to buy.
Now, unfortunately, this has been a theme of the last several weeks, months of our shows has been COVID-19. In the COVID era, people are extra worried about their loved ones, of course. Talk to me about the impact of COVID and how that's impacted your business and families.
Well, COVID has been a wake-up call, mostly. People are aware that their parents won't live forever. They're not able to reach them. I moved to an entirely virtual practice so that I'm able to put family members who may be in different states together in the same room to facilitate these conversations. It's also been important for people to know that they can protect their assets before a crisis hits. I also work with people who are in crisis and help them navigate through. There are a number of legal concepts that people simply should not have to learn in order to help the person in their family that they love.
Right.
And also to be able just to be the daughter or spouse for the person who is in some kind of medical trouble.
Absolutely. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. For more information, Tupper Butler Law, or of course, tupperbutlerlaw.com, or of course, give you a call. All right, thank you so much. We'll be right back on Wave 3 Listens.